my mom said, run into the house, get your baseball glove. It's on the couch, and hurry up and come out. Your game starts in like 5 minutes. So I'm like, all right. So I run in, I come out, and I say, Mom, the couch is gone.
How do entrepreneurs, business owners, and experts influence themselves, their clients, and teams to maximize profitability, efficiency, and create lasting impact? How do they simplify life and business and yet still achieve more? What's the one thing separating the mediocre from the best? This podcast will give you the answers and reveal the secret strengths and the not so easy to admit flaws of your lead. My name is Satori Mateo, and welcome to the Half-Assed to Badass podcast. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are listening right now. Welcome to a brand new episode of Half-Assed to Badass. This is Satori Mateo, and let me ask you a question. What do you do when you have great ideas, a great vision, and you want to make amazing things happen in your life, but you're just not moving there fast enough? Maybe sometimes you feel like you don't have enough energy. You're working hard all day long. You come home, your family wants you, right? Your spouse wants your attention. You want to be a great husband, a great wife, and you want to be present with your kids. How do you do it all? How do you make your dreams a reality? In today's episode, I'm interviewing entrepreneur Jay Altman, a proud father of 4 kids, married to his wife Kelly of 14 years, and together they're owners of 4 businesses. Jay grew up very poor in a small farm town in northwest Indiana and is now a self-made millionaire, an author, and creator of several different programs. And Jay has guided top-level entrepreneurs and executives to achieve phenomenal financial success, as well as how to find fulfillment in life. He teaches how to leverage the power of the brain and how to maximize its potential. He's a master at teaching how to compress and leverage time to accomplish rapid results. So he's going to share with you his cutting-edge strategies and tools on how to create some really impressive changes in your productivity and your performance. So let's jump into our conversation. Welcome to the call, Jay.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. This is exciting.
Cool. So we have so much cool stuff to talk about, and I know this is probably one of those geeking out moments.
Oh yes.
Yes. So I always start these interviews with a specific question, and because always it's fun to hear people's perspectives of things. So my first question, before we go into any more of the cool stuff that we have talked about today, in your perspective, what's the difference between a half-ass and a badass?
Ooh, good question. All right, so here we go. So let's see. So badass, this is my own little definition, right? So badass, someone who has the courage. And when I think about courage, I think courage equals knowing that fear is there, and despite the fear, you take the steps to move forward anyway. And so if someone has the courage to do what's in their heart, that to me is badass. And so therefore, my definition, I guess I'd say, of a half-ass is someone who does not. Maybe feels the courage or feels the fear and doesn't take steps despite those fears.
Yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Cool. Awesome. Thank you. It's always fun to hear because we all have different perspectives, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So, I know you've been through a lot of different things, and I'd love to know, sometimes we try to understand someone's life journey, and I think there's a bunch of different snapshots of different things that are kind of shaped and kind of guided you in where you are today. But I'd love to know, like, what's your backstory? How did Jay become Jay, and how did you start everything?
Yeah, man, I love that question because I have been, like you kind of hinted at there, I've been lots of versions of me. I've always been me, but different versions of me. Today, I'm showing up today as my 45.0 version, I like to say, because I just turned 45 years old a couple weeks back.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm showing up today as my 45.0 version. But if I go backwards, how I landed to be where I'm at today, it started, I think some of my early memories as a young boy, my parents divorced, like many parents do. Between the ages of 8 and 12, I moved 12 times.
Wow.
And the reason for the moves is we were evicted. So unfortunately, going back, early on, the third house that I lived in, actually, I was living with my mom, and the house was robbed. And the way that learned the house was robbed is we were away staying at my aunt and uncle's for a weekend, and we were running late getting back for a baseball game that I had. My mom said, run into the house, get your baseball glove. It's on the couch, and hurry up and come out. Your game starts in like 5 minutes. So I'm like, all right. So I run in, I come out, and I say, Mom, the couch is gone. She looks at me like, stop being stupid. Your game starts in 5 minutes. Get in there, get your glove. I'm like, I'm not kidding. Like, the couch is gone. And so she comes in with me, and we then as we look through the house, like literally everything was gone. Like the couches, our beds, the TVs, even the meat out of our freezer was gone. Like everything in our house was gone. And unfortunately, we didn't have insurance, which led to this kind of string of events that led us, moving these 12 times in those like 4.5, 5 years. Then what happened is I ended up moving with my dad, and there was some more stability there. And in living with my dad toward the end of my high school career, I got involved with a multi-level marketing company. Now, no matter what you may or may not think about multi-level marketing companies, one of the things that I've come to love about them is the fact that many of them have good self-development strategies as part of whatever products they're selling. And this particular company was selling an NSA water filtration systems is what it was. But the point really is that I learned about Tony Robbins, and Tony Robbins is someone that I learned one of my early on strategies from. That early on strategy was modeling. And so coming out of high school, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, but I had two passions. I knew I loved music, and I knew I loved athletics. Those are really the only two things I knew. And I didn't know what I could do with music, so I chose to focus on athletics. And it led me to become a strength and conditioning coach. So I went and interviewed the head strength and conditioning coach at Indiana University. I asked him what he did to get the job. He shared with me. I said, what else would you recommend that I do? He gave me that list. So I just literally modeled it. I used that Tony Robbins strategy there and modeled it. And then it led to my first job as a strength and conditioning coach at Indiana, which led to my next job, which was moving up to Minneapolis to become a strength and conditioning coach with the Minnesota Timberwolves performance team. And it was while working in Minnesota that I met a guy who was sitting down around the bottom parts of the Timberwolves arena there. And I became his private trainer. And one day in April, he came to me. He's like all upset. I'm like, his name's Mark. And I said, Mark, why are you so upset? What's going on? And he said to me like, oh man, I'm so upset. And I won't say the number, but he gave me a number. Like he had to pay this huge amount in taxes, an amount that I had never dreamed of even making in my life. And he was going to have to pay it in taxes. And it really got my attention. And I thought, wait a minute, say that again. Like, really? Like, how did you earn so much money that you have to pay that much money in taxes? And I was blown away by how much money that he had to pay in taxes. I'm like, wow, that's incredible. Like, how did you do that was my next question. How did you do that? And he told me he started his career as a radio disc jockey and then noticed that people driving in nicer cars were all in sales and marketing. And so we started down that path and ultimately became very high up in his company, earning a high income.
Right.
And so from that point, like what really from that point, moving to now is I started, and so that goes back, 18, 19 years ago now. But that led me to him introducing me to several other high net worth individuals around the cities. And I've serviced that group of people over the years in multi different ways. Like my initial idea in business is that I would become the everything to the people that I was serving. So I became a functional medicine practitioner. I learned everything I could about nutrition and how to eat. I learned everything I could about how to take care of the body and success and how to develop that. And I learned physical therapy. I worked inside a physical therapy clinic for 7 years to learn the skills of that trade, and on and on and on. And then I had the realization around 30 when my wife and I came together and we decided to have kids that if something happens to me, also something happens to my income. Mm-hmm. And that was another turning point in my life where I figured I needed a different way. I need to be able to leverage time and people and resources so that my income doesn't rely on me. And which leads me up to today where one of my personal goals that I'm on is to have 10 streams of income, all providing income to me without me being involved in those streams, or not, so involved that if something does happen to me that the money just stops. And so that's the mission I'm on today. And the mission that I love to go on right now with people is with entrepreneurs, helping entrepreneurs take next level steps, getting the most performance out of themselves so they can go next level.
Right.
Right. So as I say here.
So what do you focus on? So what is your main focus today when you're helping entrepreneurs?
So my main focus, what I've been studying like real intensely over the last 3 years, is about the brain, like how the brain can set you free. So like going a few years back, I came up against this idea that I didn't have enough time to get all the things done I needed to get done. I have 4 kids, I have 3 businesses, and how do you get it all done? And so it's about leveraging time. And at the same time, I was working with all my high net worth, the wealthy, ultra wealthy entrepreneurs, and they're getting older. And one of their top concerns was about the brain and cognitive decline. And so as I started studying cognitive decline, I started to also come across research that was showing some of the very same things that you need to do to prevent cognitive decline are the exact same things you need to do to improve brain performance. And then it led me on to some other subjects that we're going to talk about here today, subjects of nootropics and some other things to help take your brain to another level where you can literally, today I've learned of a tactic that you can literally become 500% more productive with your same time, which is incredible because the way I see, and
it almost sounds like unbelievable, right? Like 500% productive. Like, what are you talking about? Like, that's impossible, right?
Exactly. It isn't. I'm going to share just about that in a second. But as I was thinking about today, I was thinking about one of the big problems that we're all facing as entrepreneurs, and we have this idea of money or time you need. And the concept that money is replenishable, right? Like, so if you get a paycheck today, or you take in whatever money you take today, and you need to pay your bills, and you go buy the things you want to buy, and then the money starts to disappear. But the cool thing is, as soon as you make another offer or sell something or another check comes, you have more money. It's replenishable. But as far as we all know, there's no way to reclaim time. Once this moment right now passes, it's gone. It's gone forever. And so that makes time infinitely more valuable than money. And so that's one of the things, one of the reasons I started studying the brain. I figured out, how do you leverage time? Even when you are able, most of us know about like ways to delegate certain tasks here and certain tasks there, but then you still have to do the things you're going to do yourself, like the things that you're a genius at. And how do you leverage that time so that you can maybe quote unquote have it all, like, have it all in family and fitness and your relationships and your work and satisfaction in that. And
that's a great question. That actually leads me to another question that I have. Because it is right. We want to maximize. We want to optimize our time and get the most out of our lives, right? Of our businesses, out of our relationships, right? All the things that we have, our bodies, all the things. And a lot of times people have these ideas like, I have to have these really strict routines. And I think that, that's it's important to have routines. How do you prep for the day, to win the day? Like, do you have like a morning routine, night routine?
Oh my gosh, I do. Yeah. And, I'll share with you the gist of it.
Yeah.
And if you want details, I can leave a detailed description that you can pass on to anybody you want to there.
Yeah.
But, and the reason I say it is because I do a couple of things that are like basic. And with a morning routine, it always starts with movement for me. So like when I start moving my body, I get up out of bed and I start moving. And then as I'm moving, I start thinking about my day. And I will start with some things that I'm grateful for. And I'll move into thinking about how I want to improve on my body, heal my body, maybe pray or meditate on how to heal for others. And then I really think about, on this day, what are the 1, 2, or 3 things? I usually don't go ever above 3 things, but what are the 1, 2, or 3 things that this day, that by the time I get to the end of the day, what are these big things I need to do that will move myself ahead personally, professionally, and financially? And that's how I start my day. So like my movement, it could be something, certain days, for me, some of my days are mostly about working on my business. And other days are me working in my business. And I treat those mornings a little bit differently. When I'm working on my business, I will, in terms of like eating, for example, I eat, and so like I start my day by not eating actually. So I won't eat until I actually need food. So I will start with something like a bulletproof style coffee.
Same
so
here.
Like coffee with some butter, some oil, MCT oil, something like that in it. And then I don't take in any food until I feel like I actually really need food. And those are my high thinking days. I'll use things like essential oils, putting between my palms and breathing essential oils. And then when I finally come up to eating that first meal, I generally go low carb style eating, and maybe you would even call it ketogenic style, or between like a paleo ketogenic style eating. Because what I've noticed for me when I eat that way, it allows my brain to like really be on fire. I digest really well. My brain is on fire. I supplement with some nootropics that we can talk about later. And when I do the combination of moving, of thinking, of getting into a state of gratitude, of only having like the bulletproof style coffee, and then when I do eat to reduce those carbs out of there, like my brain is like on fire for thinking. And I take that into, I don't want to give it away, but like it gets me through these states I'm going to talk about at the very end of our time today, for how to get 500% more productive on your time.
Yes, I can't wait. I'm curious. I'm hooked.
Yeah. Yeah, nice.
Okay. So yeah, that's interesting. So that's your part of your morning routine, and that's how you prep for the day. And depending on if you're working on your business or in your business, you prepare differently.
Yep. Good point. So like when I'm working in my business, I will oftentimes include carbohydrates at my first meals. I don't need my brain to be fully on fire on those days. I need to have lots of energy to kind of be moving and mobilizing in that. When I'm working on my business, a lot of times I'm at my computer thinking, and so I'm not expending a lot of energy by moving my body in a physical kind of way. Right. And on days I'm working in my business, I'm more engaged with people. I'm a lot of one-on-one talking or group talking. And so when I have carbohydrates on those days, I do include carbohydrates because I notice it keeps me in a calmer, able to think in a calm, collected way, and my energy stays better throughout those days while I have that.
Interesting. Okay, cool. Quick question around that. People say about gratitude, and I know a lot of people talk about getting into a state of gratitude. What's your perspective on that? Like being grateful. What I mean, people say that all the time, right? Be grateful. Like, what does that matter? What does that do to your brain?
Yes, great question. I love the question because this is one of like the key things that's been like a game changer for me. And what I learned, there's an organization called heartmath.org. Are you familiar with them? Yeah. So HeartMath, they allow you to actually with a software program that you can download onto your computer or your phone. There's this little device. In fact, I have it just near me here today. It's like this little device right here. Kind of, if you guys are not familiar, you plug this. There's a little thing you plug on your ear, and then it Bluetooth signals to your phone. And what it does, it measures something called coherence, and it's your brain waves and your heart waves and how they go together. Now, when you're in a state of gratitude, what happens is actually your heart is sending more signals to your brain than your brain actually sends to your heart. And so when you're coming from a space of gratitude, what happens is you cut off the prefrontal cortex of your brain. And you actually get into the deeper parts of your brain and toward the back of your head there. And when you're in those states, you're able to actually think and problem solve infinitely much more concise and better and faster when you're out of the prefrontal cortex. And so getting into gratitude starts that process. And I don't always feel it. Like if, being honest, I don't always feel grateful when I'm starting to think about my gratitude. Like I might start with I'm grateful for my kids and I'm grateful for my wife. And I'll say these things, but I'm not fully feeling it yet. But I just keep going with it. And I think about, and I go sometimes I need to go all the way backwards to the time I was born. I'm born in the Midwest, a white guy in the United States of America. Like I have all these things that are like ridiculous that like for luck to be born into the world. Like, so I have like, infinite amount of things to be grateful for. So depending on the day, sometimes I have to dig a little deeper until I gain the feelings. And then once I have the feelings, then I can move that forward.
Yeah. No.
But what it does when you're in gratitude, you in a physical way cut off the ability to be in that prefrontal cortex. So
yeah, I love that. I love that. It's great because a lot of times people think about, gratitude is just hocus pocus, but it's like it literally has a physical component and then actually physical experience that actually what happens to your brain. And so appreciate you sharing that distinction there because I think that's important.
yes.
And so do you also have an evening routine or?
I do have an evening routine. So in general, my evening routine is very similar every single day. So for one, no matter who I'm with, where I go, what I do, outside of a handful of exceptions the entire year, 10:30 is my bedtime. I go get in bed by 10:30 at the latest. Once I get into bed, I take my phone with me and I put it into, so that you don't see any of the blue light. So I turn to how you can change the light in there. And then what I do is I watch magic. Since I was a young boy, I've had this fascination with magic. And still to this day, what I do is I watch magic. And there's no science to this. It's purely anecdotal by my own experience and feelings. But when I watch magic, something happens to me. And the feeling I get is that it opens me up to anything as possible. Because I know magic has its techniques. And I know magic has, all these ways that they can do it. But it still fools me in watching it. So I love the idea to know that even though I'm watching and I know there's techniques, it's so good and so brilliant that it makes me feel like anything's possible. Right. And once I gain that feeling, and sometimes it's just 8 or 10 minutes, a lot of times of watching magic, and then I go from there and I start listening to binaural beats. And a lot of times binaural beats with some kind of a guided meditation on top of that. And then just as I'm transitioning into that, I'm kind of asking the question of my subconscious mind. So before I go to bed, I like to, whatever it is I'm kind of working on, or this, last night, my idea was, give me any information, any feeling that I need to have, anything I need to have. So when we're on the podcast, that I can show up in a way that's going to really give. It's really going to give somebody something they can take away and immediately put into action that can help them right away now. And so I asked that question of myself last night, and then it weighs on me. Then things come to me. So when I wake up in the morning, that comes to me. So that as I re-enter into my morning routine, oftentimes when I start exercise, some of those thoughts pop in my mind.
Nice.
For what it is that I ask. And then I can quickly get my phone out and, jot a note. So it doesn't leave me.
Right.
Yeah.
So for those people that don't know, what is the binaural, what is that?
Yeah, so binaural beats, what they are, they're beats that are, when you listen to these beats through headphones, they're set up in a way that stimulate brain waves. So when we're sleeping, for example, your brain goes into delta waves. And so it may take you, depending on the purpose of the binaural beats, but I listen to ones that bring me into delta waves because those are deep sleep waves. But you have to listen to these through headphones so that it produces that wave. So it's producing notes, and the way that it's set up is producing these waves that are coming through the headphones that help you get into deep sleep. And now while you're in deep sleep, the subconscious brain is always listening. So whether you are consciously awake or not, it doesn't matter. And that's one of the reasons I love the binaural beats and these guided meditations, because I can do work while I'm literally sleeping. I think in general, I probably last 8 or 10 minutes while I'm listening. And then I notice I'll wake up subtly. Usually 1 hour later, I wake up and I just, quietly put my headphones off to the side and then fall immediately back to sleep. But I love the fact that I can go to work on my subconscious mind, which will help direct my conscious mind just by going to sleep, listening to these. So it's a brilliant thing to.
That's cool.
It's something that really works for me very well.
Yeah, that's very cool. That's awesome. Okay, so I know you got some cool stuff to share with us today, and I'd love to know more about it. And let me ask something, because a lot of the people listening to this that are entrepreneurs, leaders, and sometimes I say entrepreneurs. A lot of times I think about you have an entrepreneurial mind, like an entrepreneurial mindset. Like they're not just settling, they're not just satisfied with status quo. Like they're looking for answers, they're looking for solutions, they're looking to accomplish more, right? And
100%.
With that, I think that it's sometimes hard to. How do you navigate between trying to grow your business or staying connected with your family, your spouse, your kids, and growing at the same times? Like, how do you deal with, or how do you navigate? How do you, you know, I don't like the word balance, because I think, you're always, finding different ways of growing, and one area is always going to be pushing more than another. But how do you navigate through your business and staying connected with your family
Yeah, great
and
question,
your
man. I
health?
love the question because it's a complex one. My own situation is that it's constantly evolving. What that looks like to your point you just mentioned, what is balance? Balance is a myth, largely. If you're trying to make things even, like a work, play, whatever, like make them even. I've never met a human that works for. I mean, like I've met people that have tried to do that, and then they end up feeling miserable because they fail, of course. So what it looks like for us is I start with just my overall value. So whenever I'm moving forward in my business, I like to run everything through the filter of my values. So like one of my values, for example, is at least 5 days a week, I have breakfast with my kids. I have a breakfast and a morning meeting with my kids, and I don't like anything to stand in the way of that. So one of the ways I incorporate, so I'll be up early. I go through the morning routine we just talked about. And then soon after that, I'm like, my kids are waking up, getting ready, for their school process. And so I will incorporate them into my morning routine. For one, it makes me feel grateful that they're there, and I love cooking for them. I love to cook, so I love cooking for them. It feels good for me to do that. And then we share and talk stories. And then I've hired a coach for my kids, and then we watch a daily video, and then we talk about this video. So the video is typically like 5 to 8 minutes long, and this morning's video was about being mentally tough. And so then we'll just talk about mentally tough, which of course helps me. Like, hey, I need to be mentally tough too. And so when I talk about my kids, then I ask them each one, I have a 6-year-old Jameson, Jameson, what did the video mean to you? And he'll tell me in his own words. And then my 10-year-old daughter, she'll tell me in her own words and how she'll apply it. My 12-year-old. Then I have a 10-month-old who, of course, is just doing whatever she does.
Yes.
So one of the ways is just I incorporate them in that. And then two, it's we my wife and I we're both entrepreneurs, and so I can share some ideas with her, and also we have a lot of helpers. We have a lot of helpers in our personal life, like whether it's helping clean the house, help with the lawn work, drive our kids to and from events. We require kind of like a whole tribe of people to help in our personal lives and also in our businesses, which is always an evolving piece, right? Because we always try to hire for best employees, but the reality is in any business that sometimes you get a great employee and then sometimes they choose to leave, or sometimes you get an employee you think you're going to be great and they turn out to be terrible, or it's like a whole mixed bag of all that stuff. Right. And so it's constantly evolving. So sometimes we have to step into our business and work in our business more. And sometimes we get to train up the people that are working in our business, and then we can work more on our business. But hopefully that answers your question at some level. But it's a mixed bag that constantly is evolving. I don't have a one way that we do it.
Right. But you have certain routines that make sure that your wife gets the attention that she wants and deserves, and you get the attention that you want, and your kids get the attention that you want. How do you combine that?
Yeah, so really scheduling. So luckily for me too, is my wife is a scheduler, and so we will schedule day dates. Especially our kids are just about out of school for the year, but during the school year we will try to do day dates because they're all at school, including our youngest. She's at daycare.
That's cool.
And so we will go and schedule a lunch date for a Wednesday afternoon or a Friday afternoon, so we can go and just be. And a lot of times that's easier because we get to nighttime, and invariably one of our kids, or not, with 4 kids, we have lots of activities, and so that sometimes can come in the way. So we just try to fit in when we can. Last Friday, my wife and I did a day date. We went out on our boat, and we were able to hang. So which is another way that we keep things together. Is we can schedule all family time where we go out on the boat. Everybody enjoys it in a little bit different kind of way.
Right.
My wife may want to sit and read a book. The kids are out playing in the water. I might be doing a combination of both. And but we all enjoy that experience.
Right.
And it's not perfect. And sometimes it feels like there's 2 or 3 weeks that go by that nobody really is getting special attention. And other times we have more time that we can have, everybody gets more special attention. And, intermittently we try to incorporate, singled out dates. Like I'll take my son and we'll just go do a special thing, or maybe it's just lunch, or maybe it's go to the park and play for even half an hour, something like that, or go throw rocks in the pond. Like just simple stuff.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay, yeah.
I like that, because it's a lot of times, we try to do things to make everything so even or fair. But, like you said, you have your values, your wife has her values, your kids have their values. And
yes.
when we have the ability to listen to each other's values and be able to see that, then we can have a deeper understanding or deeper caring for each other's values, and make those moments count and mean something for each individual. I love that. That's great. That's
right. When you just remind me of, like, what I work on, and I'm not like perfect by any means, is trying to be present in whatever moment I'm in. So like, being here, I'm trying to be fully present right here in this moment. And if I'm with my wife or with my kids, I try to be fully present in that moment. In the past, I was much worse, where I felt like I was never present with anywhere. If I was in my work, I was thinking about my kids or wife. And when I was with my kids or wife, I was thinking about work, and like, there was no separation of those things. And it felt harder. It felt like I was never present anywhere. So there's never one moment where I could really just be in the thing that I was in. But I've been making a really strong effort over the last 3-4 years, especially, to make sure I'm like fully present, the best that I can. Right. When I'm in those each moment that I'm in.
I think. What do you think? Do you think that? I think that's a pretty common challenge, right? Especially, but not only entrepreneurs, but it's a common challenge. How do I stay focused and not be thinking about my work when I'm playing with my kids, or being thinking about my health when I'm doing something else, right? So how do you deal with stress? How do you deal with overwhelm?
Yeah, so a few ways. When I think about stress, I mean, for one, I turn to depends on where the stress is coming from. So I first try to think about what it is that I'm feeling and why I'm feeling what I'm feeling. So if it's like, for example, it could be feeling stressed because I haven't moved my body enough. So if I've been sitting for a long time, I'm starting to feel stressed. I might just need to go for like a 5-10 minute walk, something really stupidly simple. Right. And like sometimes like that's enough. I just can put my headphones on, listen to some fun music, and go walk. If I've been, if I'm like stressed like with a work thing, feeling overwhelmed with like, there's like so much to do. Like, what do I do? I'd like to try to think about the question out of the one thing book, which is what's the one thing that if I do that one thing that makes everything else easier, or maybe even so that I don't even need to do it, helps me clarify down to a thing. And then depending on how I'm feeling, because sometimes that thing is a big thing, and it might feel so big that I can't even get myself to take an action to it. And so I think about, okay, what's one way just to take a baby step toward that thing? And if I can think about taking a baby step, sometimes just that baby step is enough to put me into momentum. And then I actually have the feeling that I want to do the bigger thing. Right. And I've done that with exercise. Going back, I've been around, taught exercise, been exercising like pretty much my entire life. And, now, like I said, I'm in my mid-40s, 45. And somewhere in my mind, I still think I'm in my 20s when it comes to exercise. And like what I used to do, and every now and then still do, is exercise like I'm there, and then I kind of beast my body up, and then I don't feel like exercising again the next day because I'm like sore. I'm kind of like, I'm feeling tired. I'm feeling sore. I don't want to go. And so what I've made a deal with myself, which is if I feel tired, sore, I feel like I don't want to exercise, I way undercommit myself. So if I think I need to exercise we'll call it for 30 minutes. I'll make a commitment to go exercise for 5. Just something really simple. Again, maybe like a walk, or maybe I might just even sit and breathe, like something like could be anything to move my body in any kind of way. And then what happens is when I undercommit like that, 99.9% of the time, I actually then feel like doing more. Right. Yeah. So, and so whether it's with exercise or with a business task or any other thing, I try to take, if I don't feel like doing it, I try to go to work on getting myself to feel like I want to do it, if that makes sense, by taking just a little bite in the direction of. It
kind of creates momentum for you, right?
It gets me in momentum.
You get into state.
Right? Yes. And then, like, oftentimes I tell a lot of people this, like, when I'm exercising, the time that I feel like exercising the very most is when I'm done exercising. When I'm done exercising, I feel amazing. I feel so good. oh, I want to exercise more. And then then I put the brakes on. I'm like, nope, you did your exercise for the day. Go on, and now you're on to the next thing. Right. But that's usually when I feel like exercising the very most, is at the very end. Yeah, it's kind of funny how that goes.
So then you have all that energy to put into that new that new activity.
That's right. Yeah, I just redirect it, right, to push it to the next thing. Yeah.
Awesome. So I'd like to know the thing that you're going to share with us today.
Yeah, man. All right. Well, let's roll. So I'm super excited. I touched on the idea of this of time being the most precious commodity, infinitely more valuable than money is, and with that in mind, I want to talk about how to leverage the power of the brain, because I've come to learn that, even when you are divvying up tasks and all the other stuff, again, you still got to do your own thing. And how do you get 500% more productive? And earlier, I talked about, and I don't want people just to take my word for it, but there was a study, it's a 10-year McKinsey study that was done that found top executives to be 500% more productive when they do this one tactic. I'm going to say that one to the end, and I'm going to share with you some other things as we lead up to it, just to keep you guys excited and hungry for what's coming.
Awesome. Can't wait.
So the big problem, the way I see is, a big question that comes up is, how do we leverage time so that we can have all the success we want without sacrificing all those other things that we talked about, like the personal care, family time, so on and so on, right? And then if you are not caring for your brain, you will literally suffer measurable decreases in your cognitive ability, especially once you reach to the age of about 40 and beyond. So the research is really clear that once you reach about 40, if you're not taking care of your body and your brain, you will see cognitive decline. And then I also wanted to share that the number one reason for cognitive decline is insulin resistance. And adults in America are 30 to 50% of the adult population are currently insulin resistant. And as you get, that number increases as we get older. So if you start at around young adult in their 20s, and then once you get to baby boomer age, baby boomers as a whole are 50% insulin resistant, and others are, and all the rest make up around 30% insulin resistant, statistically speaking. And so I thought then from there, maybe we should just define a little bit what cognition even is, to make sure we're kind of clear on what that is. So it kind of refers to mental function that is an act of knowing and then thinking. So cognition is an act of knowing and thinking. And today, what I'm going to do before we get to the way to get to 500% more productive is I'm going to go back and talk about 5 ways to boost your mental ability so that when we get to the thing I'm going to talk about at the end, you actually have the foundation there that will support the thing I'm going to tell you about.
Sounds great.
All right, cool. So let's get into the foundation. So again, the number one reason for cognitive decline. So if we're going to have brain performance, we better figure out, if we had a bathtub and we had it filled with water, right? And if the bottom of the bathtub was all filled with holes, no matter how much water you put in there, it's leaking out about as fast as it's coming in. So if I start talking about all the things to do, to be 500% more productive, but you have so many leaks in the tub, you're gonna be doing a lot more things, feel like you're spinning your wheels, and you're really not gonna go anywhere. So we're gonna first talk about how to set the proper foundation and plug up these holes, so then when we get to the next level ideas, like how to get really productive and really leverage time and go way next level. And by the way, this 500% more productive is only with one tactic. Like I have ways to take that like whole other ways. This is crazy. So it's super exciting. So, but I want everybody listening right now to pay really good attention to these things, and especially I want you to pay attention if things have, whatever I come to say here in a few minutes, if anything sounds familiar, I want you to run it through the filter of it's familiar, but am I applying it? It's familiar, but am I doing it, right?
Yeah, I like that. I like that thinking a lot, because we're so often we always think I know that stuff. I've heard that stuff. But listen, if you're listening to this right now, if you're not doing the things that Jay's going to share right now, then really think again, right? Because I don't care how much you know. If you're not applying it, if you're not implementing in your life, it's worthless. So yeah, definitely good point there.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So here we go. So we're going to jump right into it. So we're going to go through 5 foundational components first. And the first one is nourishment. Now, when we talk about nourishment of the body, I always like to take a step back and, again, run it through that filter. What's the one big thing, if I did nothing else, What's one thing that will move my whole body forward, my brain forward, if I did nothing else? So if you do nothing else I talk about today, do this one thing. That's the biggest thing. And you guys probably already can guess it, but it's hydration. Hydration is such an important component that if you're not properly hydrated, nothing else can function properly. The mitochondria in your body can't function properly. The brain, the way the neurotransmitters work can't function properly. Nothing can work properly unless you're properly hydrated. And as you guys already know, your body's 60 to 70% water. And so if you're going to change one thing about yourself, why don't change the thing that's 60 to 70% of yourself? And
that's interesting you say that, because I noticed that right away. Like if I don't hydrate, but even with my kids, like when they've been, they love doing kind of Minecraft stuff, and so they're in front of their iPads, and if they sat for too long in front of their iPads without drinking water, without hydration, when they come away from their iPad, like they almost get like in a bad mood or a little bit aggressive, and I give them, here, drink water, and like a few minutes later they're like back to normal. They bounce back.
Isn't that crazy?
As soon as they get some water in there.
Yeah, it seems crazy, but it's so logical if you just step back and think like, well, of course it should make that much difference. Water is the only thing we can't live without. If you don't have water in the shortest amount of time, you die. And you can go with food, without food for a couple of weeks, some 2-3 weeks without food, but without water, it's just a couple of days, and you're literally will die. Your body can't go without it. So it's critically important. And by the way, one of the things to think about with water, like if you ever or find yourself in an emergency situation, like you've been badly hurt and you go to the hospital, the very first thing they do, they hook you up to an IV and hydrate you. Right. Well, why is that? It's because it's one of the most important things you can do. Even our sick care system knows it's the most important. It's critically important. You have to hydrate. So I don't want to be on it too much, but like and also I feel like I can't say it enough. Hydration is so key. And even with this one subject, we could really deep dive on like how to hydrate. And many of your listeners probably have some other ideas about, what kind of water. We could like dive into all that. Anyway, just know to hydrate yourself. Really, really important. The next thing then is eating brain boosting foods. And when I think about brain boosting foods, generally low glycemic foods. So those are foods that are generally away from sugar or foods that turn to sugar quickly. So number one food, vegetables, and some low glycemic fruits like berries, like blueberries, raspberries, those kind of things. But you can never go wrong. And no matter, if you guys all think about this, no matter what diet plan you've ever read about anywhere in the history, they've all included one thing in common. And I always feel like truth rises through, like, if you see a whole bunch of things, and what's the common thread? The common thread is vegetables. Eat your veggies. Your grandmother said it. Your mother said it. All the diet plans say it. Everybody says it everywhere all the time. You just don't ever see like, oh, no, don't eat your veggies. They're going to like really, no, it doesn't happen. Right? So eat your veggies. They're so important. They're low glycemic. They're loaded with nutrients, micronutrients. By the way, they're loaded with water, so they help hydrate you. So there's all kinds of like great things in there. And there was a study that showed that people that eat leafy green vegetables literally appeared 11 years younger in terms of their physiology. So just give you a sense of like how important eating vegetables are. So
that's why you look like 25.
Exactly. Put in the vegetables, man. Like put them in. Which is, going back to the morning routine. The other thing I do, I failed to mention, is I have a green drink every morning. But I load up with all these vegetables, like real vegetables and some vegetable powders. But it's like the easiest. One of the ways that I love is super easy, an easy way to include them first thing in the morning. Anyway, the next thing then with eating and nourishing your body is to eat nitrate-rich foods. And the reason for that, nitrate-rich foods produce nitric oxide, and that literally opens up brain blood flow. Huh. Okay, it actually opens up blood flow everywhere, but we're talking about the brain here. So we're doing it specifically to open up blood flow into the brain. So some of those foods include like beets. Spinach is another one. Arugula is another one. And you can Google search other ones, but those are a couple common ones that you can include on a regular basis. So if you can, a perfect recipe for a morning shake would be some beets, some spinach, some arugula. Like, boom, you have all these nitrate-rich foods and you have low glycemic foods. You're nourishing your body and your brain like in an insane kind of way right out of the gate, first thing in the morning.
Nice.
Which is huge, right? So, and then as a general rule with vegetables, one basic rule is to eat at least 3 cups of vegetables per day. So in an ideal way, we eat them with every meal that we eat through the day. And again, you can include them any way that you can see fit. So if it's including them in a morning shake, if it's eating them cooked or raw or anything in between, anyway, but get the vegetables in, right? That's the important message. Eat those veggies. Next thing is to eat healthy fats. So our brain is mostly made up of fat. I think statistically, I'm not 100% on this, but I think it's like 40 to 60% of your brain is made up of fat. And putting healthy fat into your body helps support the fat that's in your brain. So eating things like, wild salmon, organic meats and poultry, having organic oils like olive oil, coconut oil, MCT oils that are of highest quality. And if you're going to supplement with oils, make sure to spend the money on highest quality oil supplements, because the thing that a lot of people don't know is that toxins are actually stored in our fat, and they're also stored in the fat of plants and stored in the fats of animals. So if you're having plant fats or animal fats, or no matter what the fats, if you're not getting them from organic, highest quality source, you're not only putting the quote those healthy fats you think you're getting, but you're also putting all the toxins with those fats into your body. So you want to have high quality source. This is not a place to try to save a buck or two. If you're going to supplement with oils, like find the best quality source and go with that one. And if you need to be budget friendly, I would say buy the highest quality one and then space it out. Instead of every day, have it every other day. If not every other day, every third day. And so on. But
that makes a lot of sense. Like why if you're gonna choose something, why put crap in your body? Like that's
Especially with that one, it's one that with when it comes to salmon or meats, those kind of things that have fat into the animal proteins. If you're having animal proteins, make sure they're of highest quality source. It's really important. Otherwise, you will be bringing in lots of toxicity with those fats into your body. So. Cool. So it's an important note. And then I just want to make a note about cooking with oils, because a lot of times people are cooking with oils and they take a good oil and they're using a good oil. For example, a common one is coconut oil. People are the last few years been cooking with a lot of coconut oil. But the thing is, I want to tell everybody is that coconut oil has a burn point of about 350 degrees, and a lot of people are using it for much higher heat. And if you use it for higher heat, it's ruining that fat. It makes it a bad fat for your body. So instead, for a higher heat cooking, use avocado oil. It's a high heat oil that you can use, and save coconut oil for lower heat cooking, or use it in other applications like rubbing it on your skin, or use it as a face lotion or a body scrub. Really nice for those applications.
Nice.
I just wanted to touch on that.
Yes, beautiful.
Next thing then is to include plenty of high antioxidant foods, things like berries and cherries, chocolate. Yes, chocolate, one of the best superfoods in the whole world, and almost everybody loves chocolate, right? But the key with that one, as we all know, is the sugars that come along with the chocolate. So if you're searching for chocolate, do source out the organic chocolate, preferably something north of 70% chocolate into the chocolate bar. Or you can also cook with chocolate, or put it into like the morning coffee drink. I love raw cacao or raw cocoa into a bulletproof coffee. So good. It elevates the brain even further.
Wow, I gotta try that. I've never tried that.
Yeah. Oh man, you're gonna love it. You won't stop trying it once you try it. It's so good. If you're a chocolate lover. Then the next thing is matcha tea, and the matcha tea specifically for there's an ingredient in there. Or there's it's called theanine, and having that theanine into your body, it's really good. Helps for the brain too. So if you include matcha tea, either kind of like now and then, spaced, or daily if you love it. I don't happen to love it, and so if I don't love something, I'm not including it, but I may include it now and then into my my morning shakes. So I keep it around, and I'll include it as a superfood that I put. Sometimes I just put like a pinch of these things in, but I make a rule when it comes to food in general, and I encourage everybody to do this rule. If you don't love your food, then don't eat it. Like food should taste amazing. It should make you feel amazing. Like everything about it should be an amazing experience. And if it's not, then don't do it. Don't do something because I say so or someone else says so. Very few people love kale, but everybody, a lot of people are trying kale. But if you don't love kale, don't have it. But if you find ways to enjoy kale, like into a shake, or maybe sautéed in a certain way, or other ways you can enjoy it, then fantastic. But if you try it, and every time you try it, you're like, this is disgusting, and you feel like you're chewing on it and you just want to spit it out, it's not for you, and it's okay. Yeah. It doesn't have to be for you. Right?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, our kids, they've been drinking green drinks since they were like, very, very small, like, under a year. And we, we incorporate like everything from broccoli to avocado to kale, like all these kind of things. But if you try to
Wonderful.
but they won't eat it like regularly. That we put in
No.
the drink, they'll have it.
I love you say that because I do the same with my kids. Like I say, like for example, like my 6-year-old, he doesn't like any leaves. He says, I don't like leaves. Like, well, here, like if you have spinach just like in your mouth, like I don't like that either. But if I have it like in the shake, it's amazing. And so so what I teach him to do is say, I love spinach in the shake. I love spinach in my eggs. I love like a couple different ways. He does actually love it, but having it like as a salad, no, not for him.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, to your point there, like it's brilliant to find ways that you truly can like actually love the broccoli or love the avocado or love the whatever it is.
Yes.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Brilliant.
Cool. Then the next thing with food is to use herbs and spices and so it goes beyond the taste. So we're thinking about brain here and how to get the brain on fire. And I want you to know that herbs and spices decrease inflammation in our whole body and in our brain. So if you can decrease inflammation in your brain, that's a big deal. So not only does it taste really good, it actually serves a really valid purpose. So especially things like turmeric or rosemary. There's a lot of studies over the last few years like turmeric and curcumin and things like these are being very well studied for their effects on decreasing inflammation, preventing things like Alzheimer's and other things, but they increase brain performance. So you want to have those in like Italian herbs, curry, garlic, ginger, chili spices, anyway, like these things, again, make your food taste amazing, but they also serve a nutritional purpose. And I think a lot of times people don't maybe know that or fully realize that they have a nutritional importance for including them. So it's really fun. So if you can keep them around, dry, fresh, combinations of all of it, whatever, just throw them in. Make it a regular practice, throw them in, experiment, and have fun with it. And put them in.
Awesome.
And so then the major ideas, eat low glycemic foods primarily, and avoid processed foods of all types, which we kind of all know this. And I think everybody I talk to, including myself, also includes them from time to time. So like if you include them time to time, don't worry about it. It's not like a huge deal. Just know, we all know they're not good for us. And if you just make it the rule to not include them, and it's an exception, now and then you have whatever, it doesn't really matter. But if you have them as the rule, like if you have them on the daily or even on the weekly, then they come to matter. And especially if you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to make more money, you're trying to make more impact, and you're trying to leverage your time, you're just going to want to leverage those out of your diet as much as possible, so you can do that. Okay, so the next thing then is everything we've talked about so far is our kind of thing number one, which is the nutrition side. And there's always more to talk about and all this stuff, but that's a lot of really good stuff right there. Yes. So I want to leave it at that. And then the next thing, then the number two step is to optimize and maximize nutrients and nootropics. And I thought I'm not gonna like read off a list or anything of like all the known nootropics, but there's a whole bunch of them. And I thought maybe we could do is put in the show notes. I can give you a list of a whole bunch of these known nootropics. And if your listeners are not familiar with what that is, it's in general, they are supplements that you can put into your body that help elevate brain performance. And so I thought I wanted to make mention of it. I think they're important, but start reading down the list, it gets really tedious. And there are a lot of big names that I might really mess up the pronunciation of, and it would get really boring for everybody to listen to. So I thought maybe in this section we can just include a big list, and then I'll also leave a list of some of my favorite ways to bring those together, so people can check those out if they feel inclined.
Yes. So the nootropics, they're really there to elevate the brain performance, clarity, right? All that kind of stuff.
That's right. So they're there, and like different ones do different things. Like like ginkgo biloba, for example, helps bring more blood flow into the brain, helps you think more clearly, helps bring some energy into the body, and each one uses a little bit different mechanism. And the best I can tell, and this goes for everything I'm talking about today, like no one thing that I'm telling you today will make all the difference. Instead, the bigger idea is the more of the things I'm telling you to do, these all have a synergistic effect on each other, meaning the more of these things you incorporate together, they all work together to make a big difference. And the same with nootropics. So even when I show you the list, and I think my list is like 80 of these things long, no one individually will make a big difference. But when you combine these in certain ways, they really work nicely. And I have a couple that have come to be my very favorite. I'll share what those are in the notes.
Cool. Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. So let's move on then to thing number 3, which is something that a lot of people are not fully aware of, like how much it actually affects your brain, which is physical and mental fitness. And so there's the research is super, super clear that people that exercise, their brain health is so much better. And in fact, when patients get Alzheimer's or other forms of dementia, one of the very first things they have them do as a treatment is to get them moving. And a lot of times that, depending on the ability of the person, but a lot of times it's very simple. It's walking. It's trying to get those 10,000 steps in a day. And it may even be 2,000 initially, building up to 4,000, whatever, just step at a time. But any movement at all, and then even beyond that, can just be breathing. But for most of us entrepreneurs, we want to take that a step further. So we're not in the mode of trying to prevent against disease. We're in the mode of trying to go next level, right? We're trying to go next level, leverage time, like get the most out of our brain. And how do you do that with exercise? Well, the literature is clear that you do it through interval style training, which we all are familiar with. But what some of you guys may not be aware of is that interval style training that is done using resistance training is 9 times more effective than the next best training style using intervals. So what that means is, like, for example, maybe you have a set of dumbbells at your shoulders and you squat down and then do a press up. And you do that, we'll call it for 30 seconds, and then we take a 90-second rest, and we do that again, and we do it again, and we do it again. Then we maybe switch to another exercise using compound exercises, especially like a squat to a press or a push-up is another example of a compound exercise. But you knock these out in interval styles where you get your heart rate going way up and you're building strength at the same time. And it turns out that doing that style of exercise, a lot of things you'll find inside CrossFit gyms, a lot of things you'll find inside of boot camp style gyms offer this style of training. But when I was studying the brain and looking for the best way to get the brain to perform, that's the style of training. And you only need to do it a couple times a week, that style of training. 2, maybe 3 times in a week, that style of training is enough. And the other days can be filled in with things like walking, yoga, other things you may enjoy, a bike ride, swimming, whatever else you're enjoying. But when you're trying to maximize performance, compound exercises using resistance training, 9 times more effective than anything else. So it's a huge one. And we're talking about leveraging up.
Yes.
That's in 20-minute workout doing that style training. It's insane the results it can produce and what it can do for your brain. So a really big deal.
Nice.
And then I mentioned also mental training. So a lot of people are not doing mental fitness training, but like there's companies out there like Lumosity is one. There's other ones that have brain training. There's games you can download right on your phone that help to challenge your brain. Even things that that were more popular with with my grandparents, at least, like doing crossword puzzles and other brain teasers to really challenge your brain. And it turns out the more challenging something is, if it's challenging enough to make you feel frustrated, that's the level of challenge that we need in order to grow new neurons in our brain. So if you're choosing things that feel like, say it's like Sudoku puzzles, but you only do the easy ones because it feels easy and kind of you're going through them fast and filling it out, that's not enough, is what the research says. The research says you got to do like the next level ones, whatever the level is that currently challenges you, where you it makes your brain kind of hurt, where you feel like you need to run away. Mm-hmm. That's what you're looking for. That's what we need, is that level of challenge. So even if it's in our businesses, when you come up against challenges that feel really hard, that's good. That's good for our brains. It's going to challenge you next level. It allows you then to start asking those next level questions.
Nice. That
are going to help make more neurons in your brain. So important to focus on brain fitness as well as our body fitness.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to see like what kind of ways people can do that, because I what I'm hearing you say is that when you push against that comfort zone, when you push against that place where you really have to stretch yourself, and then where you feel uncomfortable, but you know that if you push through it, it will get you next level. It will give you that other level of almost like a workout. Like you don't lift a 5-pound weight and build any muscle. Exactly,
unless you're brand new and your arm's been broken and hasn't done anything for months, right? But but to your point, you have to, if you're going to grow the muscle, you got to use a way that really challenges you. If you're doing 10 reps, by that 10th rep, it should be like all you have left to do it. Right. If you're going to try to grow the muscle.
Yeah.
If you only put 5, and if you have 5-pound weights, say if we're doing bicep curls, and you get to 10 and you could have done 100 reps, that's not enough challenge.
Right. So the same thing for your brain then.
Exact same thing for the brain. You got to push it to where it really challenges, it like hurts. Again, it's that feeling that you feel frustrated. I feel like I want to walk away. I need to take a break. That's when you know it's enough. And doing that kind of training, even one time a week, is showing really measurable results. So it's pretty cool. There's a company that has a really cool test. It just takes about 30 minutes. You can measure brain function, cognition. It measures all these things, and you can do some of these brain trainings. And you can retest it, and so it's really fun. Then these are coming out. There's a lot of companies, a lot of research happening right now. And what's getting cool, a lot of these tests are really expensive right now, cost like in the thousands of dollars. So it's not practical for most people. But what's really cool, a lot of these tests are going to be able to be done with retinal scans. And so they're going to be able to use technology. Like you might use your next eye exam, maybe you can do some brain scan with a retinal test and be able to tell if there's any like amyloid plaque, which is one of the things they look for like Alzheimer's, for example. They can be able to see it. They can see it in with this retina test, which is cool. So and that's going to bring the cost way, 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 way down. And it might either my guess is in not too distant future, well, some kind of test like right on a phone that like reads our retinas will be able to tell us something about our physiology, like in our brains and other parts of our bodies, just by reading with a retinal scan, which is really cool. Just exciting stuff.
Cool, that's awesome. Yeah. So I'm curious, one of those exercises. If someone is a entrepreneur and in their business, what's something that will be an example of that will actually create that brain kind of like workout in their business? What will be an activity that would do that?
So some part of that depends on where you are in your business, right? So like, we all are at different places in our business. We're up against different challenges. So if, for example, you are at a place in your business, you can't afford to hire somebody to do Facebook ads, for example. Well, to learn Facebook ads, it's probably going to make your brain hurt. There's a lot to it, right? So
I'm one of them.
Yeah. I've been there, done it many, many times. So if you're there and you're trying to make them work, there's a lot of like for the pros, like they know a lot of things that like us non-pros for Facebook ads don't know. And so for them, like it may feel pretty easy, but for us, it may feel like a huge challenge. We're like, I'm so frustrated, I just want to quit and like run away. That would be a perfect example. But inside a business. So, but if you're trying to train your brain outside the business, you can use like Sudoku puzzles. You can use there's again other games. If you go into an app store like on an iPhone and just type in brain games, there's a bunch of them in there that come up, and they all have some validity to them. Cool. And again, like Lumosity is one, but that's a paid thing where they test and then they give you different challenges, and they tend to build. So some of those things build up on like how fast you're able to process, like how like speed, and some are more like understanding, like how well you retain the information that you're taking in. And so each thing is set up different ways. So like I've done these tests where it shows like then it gives you like a chart, and it shows like I'm really good at retaining but not so good at speed. And so I know that about myself. Like when I read, I'm personally not great at taking in information while I read and retaining it. I do way better when I'm listening, and I do even better when I'm like watching a video. And if I'm watching a video and taking notes and then I immediately try to teach it to somebody, then I'm like, I really retain the information.
Oh, wow.
So those are some techniques to train the brain to get things to stick and to go next level with that.
Cool.
Okay. All right, let's move on. So the next thing then, we're going on to the fourth step, which is managing stress. We touched on this already, but it turns out like this is an important factor, plugging the holes in the brain too. And so some of the things we talked about before, which are exercise at various levels, depending on what you need. If you haven't exercised for a while, you might need more. If you've been exercising for a while, but you've been sitting, you might just need like a 10-minute walk. Could be enough. Rest is the other part. When I say rest, again, if you've exercised a whole bunch, maybe what you really need right now is rest. And that rest is going to give you the stress relief that you need. Sometimes taking a quick 5-minute break in a workday. If you're working on one of these problems that make your brain hurt, taking a 5-minute, just lay down and just breathe, or just be a human. Just hang out there for a minute. Sometimes just like 5 minutes is enough. Sometimes even 2 minutes is enough. But just kind of resting. And sometimes we need more rest. Like I find for myself, I go through a cycle of a week. By the time I get to like Saturday afternoon into Sunday, I just need to just go be more playful. I love to boat. I love to golf. So those are a couple of ways that I reduce my stress too. And so like I'll go either hit golf balls, or I'll go on the boat and hang and play, or do some sports like on the boat, that kind of thing.
Right.
Doing the heart math that we talked about earlier. If you go to heartmath.org, right, you can order up the things and you can practice coherence. So like it just has you practicing breathing in a rhythmic way, where you're breathing maybe 7 seconds in and 7 seconds out, and 7 seconds in and 7 seconds out. And if you do that over time, what happens is everything settles down in your body, and you can in Heart Math with the app and this little device, you can actually measure it. So it gives you some direct feedback to know if in fact you're getting into what they call coherence. And so that's a cool way to know. Breathing, using techniques like a 4-7-8 breathing pattern, where you're breathing in for 4 seconds, holding for 7, and exhaling slow over 8 seconds is a really nice way to bring calm into body and to relax. Doing left-right nostril breathing is another one, where you plug one nostril, breathe in, switch over, breathe out the other side, breathe back in, switch, and breathe out the other side. Do that for 2 or 3 minutes. It's amazing. It's one of my favorite ways. If I feel like my brain is scattered, like I'm thinking, like I have like 14 things I need to do, and my brain's trying to go to all of them, and what I really need is to come to a calm, centered, focused place.
Yes.
I'll use the left-right nostril breathing, and in 3 minutes, every single time, that left-right nostril breathing is like a miracle worker. It works so well at getting back to a calm, centered place. Then I can use like a center, like a question, like what's the one thing now, if I do only one thing, right, then I can get going from there, from that calm, centered space.
Nice.
And then the other thing is meditation. And I know that looks different for a lot of people in different ways. For me, it's really, really simple. I have sat and tried to do like kind of Om and other things, but that's not what meditation mostly looks like for me. Mostly it looks like me being quiet and just being still, and quickly going through thinking about my gratitude, thinking about kind of the healing stuff, and thinking about what it is, what's my intention for the next few minutes or the rest of the day, wherever I'm at. And it can happen sometimes in like 20 seconds. It's not a lot, so it might just be a very quick meditative state. I might be doing that while I'm walking or breathing. I just incorporate those thoughts while I'm doing that. And so it's directed thought, not stillness of thought.
Right.
That's how I use meditation for me to get my brain tracking how I want it to. And then the last thing that I wanted to share about reducing stress is taking action. So a lot of times, like when you're feeling really stressed out, the only thing you really need to do is just to like do something. Do the thing. Right. Like you're thinking about 14 things, just do one of them. Like just go. And once you start, then like, okay, boom, you started going. And it's like, okay, it's like that whole thing, like what's one thing that starts in motion stays in motion. Yes. That whole idea. And so I love the idea of just take action. Just get, even no matter how little it may be, just get moving in some kind of way.
Cool.
Okay. Yeah. So, all right. So that's the fourth thing. We're on to the fifth. Should I move on?
Yes.
All right, cool. So the fifth thing here is to avoid brain toxins. And so there's a whole bunch of these. I'm not going to talk about all of them, but I want to talk about a handful that I thought could be easy enough for all of us to be aware of and to think about avoiding, which are things like heavy metals. That would be like mercury and lead. So one of the most common places people get too much mercury today is by eating too much big game fish. Could be like swordfish, for example, or fish caught that's like farmed. A lot of farmed fish has a lot of mercury into it. So if you're eating that more than once a week, a lot of times people are getting mercury poisoning. If you have mercury amalgam fillings, the research that I see shows that like they may leach a little bit, not too much. I wouldn't worry so much about that, but mostly it's in the food. It could be from if you have like old thermometers around, like the really old ones that have like the mercury balls in it. I think most of those are all gone today, but like if they're around, they maybe try to get rid of those. And like lead typically found like in paint. Could also be things like copper. If you have copper pipes in your house that you live in, could be getting copper into your body that way. So trying to avoid it. Like if you have copper in the water, for example, you could use like a reverse osmosis water filtration system will help remove that. So that when you put water into your body or onto your body, that you can eliminate that. The next thing then is to avoid excessive alcohol and or drug use. And I think it's pretty much common sense. 1 to 2 drinks tend not to show anything too negative in terms of its effects on people. But once you get to that 3, 4 or more range, the level of toxicity into the liver, into the body, that what it produces, those are neurotoxins. That's why it can make us feel, like the buzz you feel and whatever. So whether it's with alcohol or other recreational drugs of choice, if you're using those all produce brain toxicity. So if you have that, it's kind of like gumming up the brain. So even if we're doing these other things we talked about, it's like a blocking factor. It's like we're doing this good stuff, but it's getting blocked by the fact that we have these neurotoxins going on. Other things like prescription opioids or other narcotics. So if you're, from time to time, it could be appropriate. One needs to take those, but as quickly as possible, we want to get off of those because they're also known neurotoxins. So we want to not have that. And then clearly, like smoking cigarettes, smoking marijuana, smoking, even vaping. And the research is showing that it's just these things gunk up our brains. They are all toxic for our brain. So to try to eliminate those are a handful. There's more. There's other things like in cleaning chemicals, and if you live in a city or somewhere where they're getting a lot of exhaust fumes. And anyway, there's more, but those are some main big ones that we can get out of the system pretty easily. And so I wanted to share those.
Cool.
Okay, cool.
Awesome.
Are we ready to move on to the big thing?
Yes, I know. You also you have a hard time to.
Yeah.
Right. So I want to
Yes, I do. Yes. Yeah. So here we go. So let's talk about the way to get 500% more productive with the time that you have. So we're going to consider that we're doing all these things. So we plugged all the holes in our bathtub we talked about, so to speak. And so we're now ready to go next level, get 500% more productive. So you have an hour. If we could turn that hour into 5, would that be cool?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. Super cool, right? So and again, we're not just taking my word for it here. This was a 10-year longitudinal study that proved that this can be the case. And what this is, it's called ecstasis, or getting into a state of flow. And the way to do this, so flow, if you're not familiar, it's about stimulating certain brain chemicals. So it's like dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins, acetylcholine. And so if you can get all these neurochemicals stimulated together, you get into this state of flow where you can literally be 500% more productive at a time. So I thought I'd share in my last thing here today with you guys. I have a 7-step way that I get myself into flow. It's not 100% effective every single time. And getting into flow has been a very, historically speaking, a mystical experience in terms of no one's really known how to do this. The science today is showing us how to do it. And I'm going to show you how to do it in a way. And at the very, very end, I'll talk about how to do it. I talk about how to do it in an artificial way. Okay. That's cool. So let's go into the 7 steps of how to get into flow. So when I'm trying to get into flow, trying to be 500% more productive, it starts with moving your body. Now, for me, that'll be going out for a walk, and then I start doing some jogging, and I'll use some really deep breathing. So even if I'm walking, I'll start taking in lots of air. I'll be all the way in, all the way out, all the way in, all the way out, all the way in, all the way out, and do that 5, 8, or 10 times or more to really get my oxygen fully flowing in my body.
Through your nose or?
In and out, mouth, nose, any way you can get it in or out. I found that it doesn't matter. I've tried both. I've done in my nose, out my mouth, in my mouth, out my nose. I've tried different ways, and I found that as long as I'm moving air in and out, what happens, you get fully oxygenated. And when you get that full oxygenation, that starts the process for how to get into flow.
Got it.
And then the next thing while I'm moving, listening to electronic dance music through headphones. So and it's not just because it's my preference, although it is one of my top preferences, depending on what I'm doing, but doing this for sure. And I do it because the science tells me that when listening to electronic dance music through headphones is another way to induce the state of flow. So it starts going, you start getting this energy from the music into your body, then you're breathing. And then if this follows my morning routine that we talked about, so if it follows, so a lot of times for me, I try to get in a state of flow in the after, mid-morning, after my kids leave, or right after lunch. On the days that I'm in my high thinking days, I need to be in the state of flow because I only have like 3.5 hours before my kids come back home. So I'd better get a lot done in that time. So I'll take 20 to 30 minutes to go through these steps.
Got it.
So, but into my body already, there's a green drink in my body. There's also these nootropics, these brain supplements that I take. And I also will put some essential oils onto my hand, like peppermint and lemon and orange. And then I will breathe that really deeply before I go out. So that starts too. So we're moving, we're listening to electronic dance music. And then I start focusing on the task that I'm going to be working on. So let's say it is Facebook ads as an example. I'll start thinking about like, what is the outcome that I want to have in my Facebook ad? I might not fully know how to do it, and that's okay, but I want to think about the outcome. The outcome I already can be clear on. The outcome is I want to get as many people for as little money as possible to my business, right? And so that could be the outcome. So I start focusing on the outcome. The outcome, that's the outcome I want. I'm going to demand that anything that I need comes to me right now to give me the outcome of more leads per dollar to my business. And then when I get back in, I will think about taking some kind of a social risk. So what that looks like for me would be like jumping on a Facebook Live, doing something that feels maybe a little scary, something you're going to go teach something that maybe you just learned something and you're going to go teach it. So you don't fully know it yet, but you're going to take a little bit of a risk. And maybe it's on Facebook ads again. I'm going to read about something on Facebook ads or watch a video, and then I'm going to jump on Facebook Live and I'm going to teach that very thing. Even if I screw it up, what that does, the research shows if you're taking a risk by doing that, by being vulnerable, it opens you up further. And so like taking that social risk is another important trigger that can get you into that state of flow. And then the step 5 is using all of your senses. So using your body, if you can get your body into a powerful position, like standing up tall, moving the body. Like for me, my power moves, I kind of knock myself in my chest, and it makes me feel strong, gets me into a strong state. So I've been breathing, I've been listening to music, I've been thinking about my tasks, I've got myself in a powerful state, I'm demanding of myself like what it is that I want. And then I'm using my senses of like smell by smelling the oils, I'm using my physical body, I'm using my like all these things, right? And the more you can use, and then if you can even like jumping and turning has been shown in research, jumping and turning can stimulate the body also into flow. And then with that, I'll sit down and then I really start focusing in on my task. And I just get really focused on what it is I'm doing. And oftentimes for me, I will leave electronic dance music playing in the background because it just keeps my state going. And then what happens is like all of a sudden, a couple hours go by and I've accomplished like an incredible amount by being into that state. And it's the most fun feeling. And everybody's experienced this, by the way, already. But to do it on purpose is more rare. Most people either have not done it on purpose or don't know how, or have tried and maybe have failed at it. But once you can learn the techniques, and like for me, like it doesn't, I can't accomplish it 100% of the time, but maybe if I'm just guessing 70% of the time that I'm going through what I just shared, that line of moving, music, breathing, smelling the oils, jumping and turning, getting in a strong state, focusing on the thing, that does it. And that's one of the ways to really leverage up that time. It's huge. And by the way, if you didn't do all that, if you only do one of those steps, which is focus on your task, that one thing alone in the research is showing to have a 42% increase in your productivity just doing that one thing. So if you can get in a state of flow, it's the 500%, which is gigantic. But even doing the one thing, just focusing on the task, like focus on what the outcome is that you want, is really, really powerful.
Yeah, that's very cool. It's been very, very helpful. I appreciate your time, your focus, and I know you got to go here soon. But
yes, I do.
I have 2 more questions for you.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah,
what do you got?
So the first one, the question is, what drives you?
Oh man, what drives me? It is actually watching the people that I help accomplish their goals and dreams. Like that, it like sets me on fire. It always, since I was like pretty young, like helping other people. I love teaching. So when I'm teaching and then I can see people that are applying and then they're getting the result that they wanted, like it lights me up. It's like so exciting. It's so much fun. And that's the big thing that drives me.
Yeah, that's cool. Which is also why I do this podcast, because gives me that place to be able to share all this cool stuff.
I get it.
Okay, so the last question, actually, I have two more questions, but one question that is a kind of a question. It's a
Sure.
in what area? Because I believe we all have areas that we're making progress, we're growing, we're expanding, we do things, and no matter how much we grow and expand, there's always some area where we're half-assing things.
Oh yeah.
So, what do you think? What's an area where you're still half-assing things? Because I also,
Oh,
the
man.
reason I'm asking this question is because a lot of times people think that they have to be perfect. Right? They listen to this stuff and like, oh,
How much
this is
time do we
amazing
got?
stuff.
I got a lot of these. I'm always like, okay, I have a couple like I can think about. One is in my personal life, I would say it's in my golf game. Last year, I made a commitment that I was really going to work on my golf game, and I hired 2 coaches because I thought one's not enough for me. I better get a couple. So
Yes.
I really go to town on it. And so I've learned things, but I've fallen behind on my practice schedule. So I say or my personal goals, which are important to me too. I'm half-assing on it because I'm only getting there about a third of the time that I need to to meet my my goals for my
Right.
golf game. In my professional side, it's really half-assing on the idea of hiring high quality sources to help me do the things I need to get done in my job. So I have this tendency to when I'm ready to hire something, that I will look for a cheap option to do the job. Say if it was Facebook ads, I would have a tendency to want to look for someone who's going to do it cheap.
Yes.
But that's the wrong idea. It actually is more expensive. But it's a place that I have to really work on for myself, is knowing to make the investment in the high quality sources so that I can really go next level on what it is that I want. And it saves a lot of frustration. If it is Facebook ads again, hiring a best in class Facebook person, yeah, maybe they cost a lot of money up front, but they're going to save you a lot of time and frustration, and ultimately going to save you a lot of money too, because if they really do their job well, they in fact are going to bring in a lot of leads that are going to help you grow your business. Then you can do your thing, with sell and do all the other beautiful stuff you can do once you have the people in front of you.
Yeah. I completely get what you're saying. Yeah, and
So
agree.
man, it's like, all right, get it through my head. I go there.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So, Jay, where can people learn more about you?
Okay, so if people want to find out more about me, there's really 2 spots. One is that you can go to jayaltman.com, JAYALTMAN.com, or you can find me on Facebook, same name, Jay Altman. You can find me there. Those are the 2 best spots to find more about me.
Awesome. Boom! How did you like that? Hope you enjoyed the training and you found it valuable, and you feel like this can help someone else. Please share this information. That's how we keep making an impact. It's because of people like you that we can continue doing this. Hey, if you're thinking, I want some more hands-on training, I wish I had someone who could keep me accountable, keep my mindset straight, and help me grow. And if you want to be part of a community of badasses just like yourself, you can go to halfassedbadass.com and join the waitlist, because we are in the middle of creating something super cool. And if you're liking this experience, the community we're building will blow your mind for sure. We haven't officially opened the doors yet, but by getting your name on the VIP list, you will be the first to know when we go live. Sound exciting? We are very excited. Actually, the more accurate word would be inspired. I can't wait to share this with you. So it's super easy. Just go to halfassedbadass.com and get yourself on the VIP list right now. Talk soon.